It said, make this part, put this hole right here. You don't want it coming back wrong, because then when you put your robot together, it's gonna be all crooked, or maybe it won't slide smoothly. You'll have a lot of friction. You know, parts need to be built properly, so you got to have a lot of training in place so that people know how to use the tools to make the parts come out the right size. So yeah. And I'm going fast. I know I'm going fast. I'm going to throw out a lot of information here. Hopefully I'll have some time in the end though for questions I didn't before. So if you do need to stop me to repeat something or clarify something, throw it out there. I'll deal. So what we do on the day of the 3rd, if we've got all that other stuff in place and we're ready to go on the 3rd, this year the kickoff event will be here at Interlake. This is Interlake, right? Yeah. At this school, they're going to broadcast the kickoff event. Now, it's the same broadcast around the entire world, NASA satellite system. There's going to be a feed here. What we typically do is send a smaller group from our school to come and watch that event. First year, I think we took a videotape and we actually plugged it in and we recorded it and we brought it back to, we were at a library that year. Last year we were actually at CH2M Hill in a really, really beautiful conference room. I would recommend, if you can get a hold of something like that, do it. Because it just kind of raises the bar in terms of, this is going to be, you know, a class act year. I mean, we're going to be doing this top notch. So try to get a hold of something that's really nice, like a library. Just, unless you have a school that's this beautiful, or, you know, where it's just a nice place to work. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So during that event, once you get back from this school and you go to your library or your conference room, wherever you are, make sure you've got items, and this is real basic stuff, but have a whiteboard, have poster paper, you know, those easels where you've got those big poster papers that you can write and then tag them up to the wall. Because by the end of this day, you're going to have poster paper just surrounding the whole room. So have that stuff in place. Have notepads for everybody. Just go down, buy a big stack of notepads and pens and pencils, and just pass them out. Because you want everybody, as they get ideas, you want to get those ideas down on paper as quickly as you can. And if you have an idea and you don't have anywhere to get it on paper, you're going to start trying to get that idea out by interrupting everything that's going on. Okay, so you can't have everybody doing that. Just get those ideas down on paper. So what we do, we send the people here, small group watches it, there's breakout sessions and everything, you get a lot of information. You're going to come back to wherever you do the kickoff as your big team, and then they're going to bring that information back and share it. So then we'll watch the kickoff as a team, kind of do a little bit of brainstorming, talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to watch that again with more sharper focus, looking for specific information this time. Because the first time you watch it, it's sort of like, wow, cool. You know, and then the next time you watch it, you're like, okay, how am I going to score points? All right, what are the specific challenges we're looking at? So now you're really looking at the specific challenge for the year, breaking it down and how do we earn points, what are the problems/challenges. And what I mean by these problems/challenges, there's like, you know, one year we were working with these big rings, you know, like those inner tubes. Have you guys seen this challenge? So these big inner tubes, you had to pick them up off the ground, rotate them, and then put them up on a rack. Now the rack was moving, and there was 3 different levels of little posts that you could put these rings on. I mean, there were so many different challenges involved in that it was a lot to deal with. We had to break down every single one of those challenges, because each one of those challenges would drive a design idea. Okay. So first of all, how do you pick up a pneumatic ring like that? Well, if you squeeze it tight, it's going to break. You got to be able to clamp it. You got to be able to get your clamp through the hole or around the thing or whatever. So each of those little challenges poses a design problem, right? So you got to break them all down. So as you're watching the video, be writing down, okay, challenge 1, oh, picking up a ring. Challenge 2, rotating the ring, because it won't go on the rack horizontally. It's got to go on vertically. So you got to rotate it. Then you got to be able to elevate the ring to the different levels on the. So it just gets more and more complex. So you're trying to break all that down to make a very complex challenge, kind of segmented into little sub-challenges. And then the constraints. What are the constraints? Doesn't this look exactly like what we went through?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Mike and I went to college together. So the constraints are, how big can the robot be? At the start, they typically are all folded up into a little box. I think it's like 26 by 30 something by 5 feet tall. But then during the event, they can unfold, and typically there's an initial constraint, and then there's a constraint after it starts. So know those constraints, because it's really painful, and you'll see it this year, and we've seen it in the past. There's always a robot or two that gets to the competition and overlooked a constraint. They went 6 weeks into the design build, put their robot into a crate, got all the way to the competition, maybe it was down in Portland last year, get down there with this robot, the judges come and look at it and say, oh, your arm, your robotic arm that extends 6 feet is 3 inches too long. So at that point, they got to hack it off and rebuild it. And you've got just a few hours to get that done. So try to avoid that by knowing these constraints. Now, all this information is going to be in a document or a series of Adobe files that will be online prior to the kickoff event. Okay, these Adobe files, it's the manual. And when you print out the manual, can I borrow this for a second? If you print out the manual and put it in a folder, it'll be about this big. When you include all of the supporting information about the components that go in with the kit as well. Have all of that information, if possible, ready to go. And then the day of the kickoff, they're going to give us a big code. It's like 27 characters or something. That's going to be the password for these Adobe files. So that on the day of the kickoff, have somebody slated, this is your job. You're going to be the one to write down this password and then decrypt all these, or not decrypt them, but download and then release all these files so we have this information. Because you're going to want to have handouts to give everybody so they can read through these constraints. Okay? That's information you're going to want to have on that day. So that'll be that Saturday on the 3rd. Okay? Brainstorming. Okay, so once we watch the video and then we go through it with a little bit more focus, we want to do a fair amount of brainstorming. Okay, what did we see? What are some ideas? But you want to focus on what to do. What are the challenges? What are those problems? Okay, so what do you see as problems? What do you see as problems or challenges? Don't focus on the how to do it. Okay, at this level of the design process, you don't want to be coming up with, okay, we want a gripper with 3 fingers that are all articulated. You don't want to break it down that far. Because what it does is it kind of gets you too focused in one direction. You start wondering, how am I going to make that work? What's going to be involved in that? And what you really need to be doing is thinking big picture at that point. Okay? So be kind of aware of this and really stress focusing on what to do and not the how to do it. Does that make sense? Okay, and then this is going to be stressed throughout my little presentation here, but I'd stress this as well on your end. Record everything. Okay? Every little idea that pops into your head or that you hear during your kickoff sessions, get them down on paper, either on those big notepads. The whiteboard's great for getting it out right now, but this isn't a good way to record things. So have someone that's actually taking notes for you guys. So focus groups. What we do here is during our kickoff, the first step, we're watching everything as a big group. We're doing some brainstorming, kind of talking about what we saw as challenges and scoring opportunities and that sort of thing. Then what we do is we break off into little focus groups. And in these focus groups, we're looking at specific items. Like, I'll take this row and I'll say, okay, you guys will be breaking off and you're going to be looking at specifically scoring strategies.